we're going to go ahead and get into our top story this evening. We've got a compilation of several newscast clips locally that I want to analyze. But today on the radio, I played one of the clips, and the guy goes to the door and says, "Hi, I'm here from the school district. I'm here to give your child the shot." He just says it authoritatively, like, "Hi, I'm here. Hand over your bank account to me." And, of course, then they go on to imply, well, we also found a lot of truant kids, as if it's criminal to not vaccinate your children. And they also say it's a new law. Well, we went and checked. There is no law. And since we started reporting on this yesterday, they've already come out this morning on the same news channel and said, you know what? There is a waiver from the policy. But see, a policy is not a law. But then they went back on the same newscast to say, but still you have to do it. And where I live in Austin now, every year in August, they say, it's the law, you got to take shots. And I'll call up the local TV station and I'll say, you know there's no law. You know there's a waiver from the policy. And they go, no, kids are going to jail. Yeah, they're going to juvenile hall because the schools kick them out because they aren't vaccinated and then charge them with truancy when the school kicked them out, and that's illegal. Because it's not truant if the school suspends you over a policy. Got that? It's a parlor trick. It's a fraud, and they run the same gang. The same gang runs the same game all over the country and all over the world. The same scam is run, and I'm here calling it. Let's go ahead and start going to this newscast, and I will stop and comment on it.
Measures to make sure every student is vaccinated in Natoma. School officials went door to door with a nurse offering the Tdap vaccine.
Good pause.
To meet a new
School officials went door to door offering. Funny, I have the local newspaper reporting that it was the law, and then later they say it's the law. See, this is all a trick. Oh, we're offering this. But if you notice in these different newscasts, in fact, I haven't even seen the package they put together, but the one I aired on the radio today, the guy comes to the door and he says, again, I'm here to give her the shot, starts trying to go in. And the mother says, bleep you, and slams the door. Go back to it.
School officials went door to door with a nurse offering the Tdap vaccine to meet a new state mandate.
Hello, how are you, ma'am? Hi. My name's Heyman Matlock with the Natoma Unified School District.
It's not easy going door to door, making sure students are vaccinated.
Your daughter is on independent study.
Yes.
Kayla, has she been verified with her Tdap?
No.
Okay. We were coming today to give her a Tdap if she hasn't had it done yet.
Get the off my house.
Hamus Matlock dealing with a lot of sticky situations. Despite weeks of free clinics and warnings, some Natoma's kids still have not received a shot for whooping cough. He has a list of more than 40 left to get vaccinated. So, with a traveling nurse on hand, district officials are now left to track down kids who may be falling through the cracks.
There are a number of kids that we're finding out in our home visit today that are truant. They aren't in school.
That's enough. And it's coming up later in the piece. 5 years ago, I interviewed the state attorney in Maryland. It was a big national story. They had thousands of kids lined up at the courthouse, forcibly inoculating them, saying it's the law. And even the people that were going on Good Morning America and CNN who were against it were saying it's wrong that this is the law to make us take vaccines we think are dangerous. There was no law. And I got the state attorney on it, and I said, sir, there's no law. And he goes, you're right. I don't even give my kids shots. Started laughing. And I said, oh, you've heard about how they're bad. And he was laughing. And I said, well, and I'm going to show you the article come up in a minute. It's got his name and all the info in it. And I said, so it was all color of law. It was all a big hoax. And he said, wow, you ought to be a lawyer. Like if I was a lawyer, then I've got a degree in conning people. There is no law to take vaccines. They're trying to pass them. The actual law they've now passed in California is they can convince your kid to take it, and then they don't have to tell you no parental consent is needed, which itself is incredibly unconstitutional. Think of the liability of the school districts. But just like the school districts in 1910, 1920, 1930s sterilized up until the 80s 500,000 women, in some cases for just being poor, how did they grab women and sterilize them? They just did it. They had social workers, they had cops, they had doctors ready to do it. Just like in Nazi Germany. They just do it. There's no law that they could chop your testicles off. People send me emails going, well, they didn't do that. They did, they just tied their tubes. No, they would lop the testicles off. I made films about it. It's called Endgame. Look it up. This is total fraud you're seeing. By the way, let's go to a document cam shot over here of the screen. I said EPA from memory because we're not using teleprompters. We're using my brain here, okay? This is run by my brain, so it's going to have fits and starts. This is real. This isn't a White House memo you're getting. FDA, of course, it'd be the Food and Drug Administration. Low risk of illness from food containing melamine. Back in 2007, all those Chinese dying and executing the people that did it, and all our kids getting sick. What's our government's response? Hey, let your baby die of kidney failure because it was in the formula. Let them die. Radiation's good. Melamine's good. DU's good. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the rest of the articles and documents the guys have put together showing this history of hoax and fraud. Again, even if you're for vaccination, you think it's great. You trust Big Pharma. They're lying. Rick Perry lied and said, it's the law. You've got to take this Gardasil shot. And we called him and said, listen, you piece of garbage. We know it's not the law, and called his bluff. And now he's backpedaling. There's all of our articles on it. No law says parents have to get their children vaccinated. Article after article after article going back year after year. And here it is. State attorney admits no law makes vaccines mandatory. I had him on the show. Hundreds of parents face jail time after school children kicked out of school, triggering truancy. And I said, you're getting them for truancy when you kicked them out. That's not statutory. And he went, ooh, you ought to be a lawyer. No, you ought to be an American instead of a dirty, low-down deceiver. And when he giggled on air, it freaked everybody out and said, I don't vaccinate my children. Well, then what in the Hades? I mean, it's evil if you're vaccinating your kids and try to go out through fraud and intimidate others into taking them. But when you make a joke and say, I don't vaccinate my kids, you just reached a whole nother level of wickedness. Look, I've already said it 50 times. I don't know how else I can say it to show you what's happening. Even the people that go on the news and say they don't want their kids forced to take this stuff say this is a wrong law. There is no stinking law. It's a fraud. These people are liars. I am sick of it. And thank God people are starting to get this hoax. That's why, as I said earlier, we're going to play the clip. A day after we started talking about this, they got the local news to admit, okay, there is a waiver. But it's a waiver to a law that doesn't exist. It's a waiver to a BS policy. And when you go to the hospital now, pregnant wives are not supposed to take vaccines until now they say it's good for you, even though it admittedly is on the insert and cause spontaneous miscarriage. And the doctor comes and says, fine, sign a waiver, you accept responsibility. No, you son of a bitch. You sign a waiver saying you accept responsibility for trying to cram this stuff down our throat because you are financed and bullied by Big Pharma. Now let's go to the clip of these backtracking pieces of trash. I'm so angry, I can't even talk. I'm sick of con artists.
Who need the whooping cough shot in Vacaville. Students who don't have the shot will no longer be allowed in class unless they opt out of the requirement with a waiver. For more on the story, let's go live to News 10's Karen Massey, who is outside Vacaville High School. Karen?
Well, News 10 has been inundated with phone calls and emails every time we do this story. Parents are complaining about having to get their children vaccinated, including the parents here at Vacaville High. Well, the law says parents do have a choice in this matter as long as they're willing to deal with the consequences.
Hit pause, back it up 30 seconds. This is the doublespeak. When they get caught in the hoax, they then say, well, parents are complaining about having to get their kids vaccinated. You don't have to. It's like saying parents are complaining they have to buy a used car from this place or they have to eat chicken fried steaks at this certain restaurant. But now parents have been told there's a waiver. And then they go back into saying you still have to do it. It's all a fraud. Your government is a hoax that hires a bunch of yes people that'll sit there and BS you. And if it doesn't make you angry, something is wrong with you. Go back to the clip.
Karen?
Well, News 10 has been inundated with phone calls and emails every time we do this story. Parents are complaining about having to get their children vaccinated, including the parents here at Vacaville High. Well, the law says parents do have a choice in this matter as long as they're willing to deal with the consequences.
Hit pause. The law says the parents do have a choice. See, they're trying to get you conned that you got to take inoculations from Big Pharma, caught adding cancer viruses, you name it. as long as you're willing to face the consequences. They're trying to trick you to sign some waiver saying you're a bad parent when you don't have to fill out the waiver. You notice that mother they first went to earlier and said, oh, well, your daughter's now studying at home. In most of those cases, people start homeschooling and pull them out because the school kicks them out. So the mother says, well, I'll just keep them at home. And the school, so they still get federal money, say, don't homeschool, put them in at-home school run by the school system. It's kind of a quasi-purgatory. But you still get the dirty bureaucrat there going, well, I'm just going to come in and give them a shot. Here in the land of the free, home of the brave. Let's go back to the clip.
A nurse explains to a mom about getting the whooping cough shot for her 3 sons. They're among 3,100 Vacaville students who began the school year without the vaccination.
We have whittled it down to this morning. It was 154
look
students.
at that zombie.
All of them have been receiving phone calls all last week and received notices
more dangerous
in
than
the
those
mail saying
wide-eyed
that
zombie
they needed
women.
to get their Tdap.
Get your muscle nice and loose.
That's a shot that inoculates against the sometimes deadly disease. Students just offer up their arm in return for an all-important document saying they have it.
Okay, Ruben, this is your pass to get back into class.
I wasn't even sure I was going to do it. I wanted to do a little bit of research first.
Count Michelle Takis among parents concerned about the impact of
God, look at these
vaccinations.
idiots.
A lot of the things with immunizations these days talk of them being linked to autism and ADHD and that kind of stuff.
She had signed a waiver saying no shots for her son based on personal beliefs.
Today we just decided, I got off work a little bit early, let's go just get it done.
Healthcare professionals are glad for the change of heart.
The whole reason for the requirement was in response to the pertussis outbreak that started last year in California, and when many folks
can't
signed
handle it.
waivers
Turn
for
it
their
off.
waters.
The con keeps going. The requirement, the requirement. There is no law. There were 10 deaths in California out of 30+ million people, they claim, last year. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot trust this government that's been involved in radiating our troops, nerve gassing them, testing stuff on foster children, killing them. And you got a bunch of well-meaning idiot zombies like the school nurse and the rest of them out there pushing this stuff on kids. And I will not apologize of extremism in defense of liberty. I've had enough of this. I've read too many UN and Rockefeller documents like we showed you last week on air where they said they're adding sterilants and cancer viruses to the vaccines to reduce population. Our life expectancy is dropping. The IQ is dropping. Cancer is doubling and tripling depending on the type. These people force medicate us with toxic waste they call sodium fluoride. I'm sick of it. The government wants in our bodies. They want to force this crap on us. And I, for one, have had enough. We're going to go to break and come back with more on Infowars Nightly News. I'm sorry if I've been ranting, but just watching this giant con game take place makes my blood boil.